chance for Torquay. Chris Hargreaves, the captain. If he stays offside, Carlisle checks instead. He's looking for Benny. Sells.
Hello, welcome to the Goal's Eye View season preview special. I'm joined by Tom and Chris, and we are going to just, preview the season, aren't we, lads?
We are indeed.
Yes, we're trying this weird list view thing again. So if it looks, because there's three of us, if it looks a bit weird, it bounces behind. Also, can I just say, welcome to anyone who's listened to us on Spotify and all the other platforms. We are now available.
Woo!
I know. We are now available on all these platforms. We're working on it right now as we speak. All of season 4 should be up. It's all gone south. Podcast will be there as well. So we want to push YouTube as the main thing, but also if you want to listen to us in the car or wherever, when you can lock your phone and you can hear us. But obviously you need to be watching it so you can see us. Well, at least one of us at a time this week. Yeah. But if you don't want to see us, you can go on that. Right. So we're going into the season. We'll go through each player actually that we signed a bit later on, but we'll go through just how we feel. I'll start. I'm excited for the season, of course, all of us are. My gut prediction, I would say playoffs. That is my aim for the season purpose, I think, to be honest. I've not got loads and loads of expectations straight away, of course, certain standards by any football club you want to see. But I think it's just always such a new squad, such a new era for the football club. It's a stronger league. We can't have, as Mark White was talking to us last week about football league syndrome, have any of that. But I know that like Paul Wooten and all that, and this regime now won't. But to go from having one player, remember we had one player 3 months ago, or whenever it was 2 or 3 months ago, to having a full squad now, and it's a good squad. I'm not ruling them out of winning their titles or anything. Let's just manage expectations here, is what I would say personally. But I think it's a good squad. Pros, I was defence, a lot of great players. We'll go through them. Sam Dreyer, Umar Musa, I've got Oscar as well. I just think we've got so many good players now. The only slight worry, if I had to have one, was creating enough chances. I know we played higher opposition. It's pre-season. Nothing matters. Just if we're sticking to a 3-5-2, making sure we're getting those strikers enough chances and we've got enough goals. We've got the strikers. We know that. So that's my only worry going into the season, really. But I also love how we're looking set pieces. Tom, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's been difficult for me because I've not actually seen a pre-season game at all. So the first time I'll see the lads play will be this Saturday. In terms of business, I'm really happy with what we've got out there. I think Watton's done a good job of getting these good National League South quality players in with a mix of promising potential players such as Crosby, and also the odd experienced player from higher up that's dropped down like Oscar. I think it's a really good mix this season, and I would be very disappointed personally if we weren't looking at a playoff finish. But for me, as long as we're in the mix for playoffs and finishing in the top 7 is probably good for me. Whether we get promotion or promotion is a bonus. Quite honestly, at this moment in time, it's all about foundations and setting the foundations right for future seasons to build on. The shambles we've had over the last couple of years, we need a solid base to build upon. So I think it's going to be very competitive at the top, especially. There's an article that I wrote that should be out in the next coming days, hopefully, with my predictions. I mean, I did finish third from bottom of the TORQUAYTALK Prediction League last season, so obviously take those with a pinch of salt, of course. But I would be disappointed if we weren't pushing for at least the 4th to 7th range. I think there are going to be a couple of teams like Dorking, like Boreham Wood, spoiler alerts there, that should be up there contesting. But that being said, I can see no reason why we can't break into that. But again, I think we might start a bit slow. Again, it's a brand new team, new vibe around the place. It might take a bit of time for us to get going, but I think once we do get going, we'll be hard to stop. And I'm just looking forward to getting to play more on the 10th and hopefully seeing it all come together in front of a bumper crowd and hopefully starting this new era at Torquay United in a positive way.
Like that. Right, Chris, what's your thoughts going into the season?
So I was just looking on the floor for those names that you dropped, but Mark White's down there so far. So I mean, I think it's just exciting, isn't it? I mean, the whole thing's just exciting. It's good to be excited about being excited about the start of the football season because we've all done it because it's our club and we love it. But it's not been a positive environment. But I mean, I went to the Tiverton game at the weekend, and watching one of the co-chairmen walk along with his Torquay shirt on and a pint 5 minutes before kickoff and go and sit in the director's box. Just kind of thought, I just thought to myself, wow, things are different, aren't they? But yeah, no, absolutely. I think trying to extract yourself from it a little bit. I think if you were another club, and you looked at the players we'd signed, I think you'd look at it and think, blimey, there's some players there. You look at Seymour and Cook, two of the top goal scorers in the league last season. You've got Ash, 14 goals last season. You've got Hayfield, a well-respected and well-thought-out, central midfield player. You've got defensive players who have clearly got ability. Come one from Bath, one from Taunton. So I think if you were looking at it externally, I think you'd probably look at it and think, blimey, there's some players there. Yeah, I mean, I think that the start is important. I think we need to keep this momentum going for as long as we can, because there's no doubt that there's going to be bumps in the road, because there always are. But I think it's a good first game. A side just promoted at home on the first day of the season is probably about as much as you can hope for. But actually, overall, I think it's probably quite a difficult start. A lot of people think Farnborough will be dark horses, and they've signed some decent-looking players. And obviously, Bath and Dorking, Bath are always there and thereabouts. Obviously, Dorking are one of the favourites for the division. But I think in terms of what's in the squad, I am a fan of signing players at the level you're at. And it was interesting when we had the co-chairman on a couple of weeks ago that they said that Paul is very much focused on some players for now, get us what we need now, as well as looking at perhaps a bit of a longer term plan. So I think players like Hayfield, Dyer, Cook, and Seymour, who were successful at this level last year, and as Tommy said, that's been supplemented with a bit of experience. People like Threlkeld, as well as someone like James Hayward, who knows the level. So I think there's a lot to be excited about. And I think as much as anything, it's just good to have a club that you can go and enjoy. If you think about what's changed in terms of the environment. I've only been to the Plymouth game at home in pre-season. I couldn't make the extra one, but the environment was just completely different, which I think is so.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. Yeah, I really like the way the squad's been built. I know a couple of people have said, "Well, you were very complimentary of it last year," and in fairness, we were up until the fact we realised that we were going into the season with only two strikers in a two-striker formation. And I know we thought we were getting the right characters last season as well in a way, but I mean, hindsight's wonderful, isn't it, in football? But I do generally like the idea of actually, we're a Southwest football club. Let's stop pretending we can get people. There are people that are travelling at this. We've got to go. We've got the lodge and all that. I think we've got 8 players in there, as we've been told. But it's just, I just like the idea that there's a couple 2-year deals for like assets of players. So like Sam Dreyer, I mean, I said on Twitter the other day, he looks like a League 2 player, right? A National League 2 player. He looks like he's like someone who's playing for like years at that level.
I haven't seen him lose a header yet. So,
no, it's mad.
Swanee, can I just ask you, because you've been to the sponsors event today, and the open training session this morning. Yeah. Well, I thought I'd say it before you did, but what it's hard in a very public forum. But what was the I guess vibe, it's a cool modern phrase, isn't it? And what was the feel? What was the vibe around kind of how the players were kind of interacting around each other as much as anything, I guess?
I mean, it was, I couldn't make the training session in the end, but I did go to sponsors day, Talk with Jay Folson, absolutely lovely lad. Really, a lot of them always are, of course, but they really took an interest, and they're really down to earth kind of. It's not like we're the footballer, you're the fan. It was very much like, no, we're just even here. But I mean, from what I could see, it was a nice set of lads. If I'm honest, last year was as well. So again, you can't really go much off there as well. There's a lot of good people I spoke to, and obviously we had Tom Lapsey, was great. But I think just seeing the dynamic, there's it's getting to that weird stage now where I'm older than quite a bit of our team, and that is worrying. That's what
welcome to that club, Sam.
I know, like 25 now, and it's like pushing it now, But no, it was. Yeah, I like there's some characters like Roddy Collins, and that you could hear him with his like sort of big Irish accent, which I love. And then it's just a nice they're very very grounded, respectful, as I say. And just speaking to a few of them, as I said, and like Folsom in particular, having Neil Warnock around in training, saying how grounded he is and how it helps and all that. I'm sure Jay Folsom wouldn't mind saying, but like it was just everyone, you could tell just. We were speaking to, it's a great era to be part of this football club now, and you could tell the vibe around the place. It was still, you know, just you go in and you got all the great work the volunteers have done. And that room feels amazing now. First time I've been in it, all in like the corridor, and it's just getting there, isn't it? I mean, we saw the big thing, which obviously we haven't done Goals Overview much over the pre-season, but like the big thing was the Plymouth at home, the speeches before
Yeah.
the game. I mean, we didn't really get time to commentate on that much, but like they're incredible. I mean, just the feeling then, you really had your football club back. You know, both Westcott and, you know, Mark, and that it's just their speeches were great and everything around it, and how they appreciate the Plymouth fans and Plymouth fans there. And yeah, that's when
I think as well,
the biggest moment.
Yeah, I think it's just, but what's been clear for me is that they've got everything right.
Yeah.
In that, you know, in terms of, I mean, when we had them on a few weeks ago, they said, you know, it was quite, you know, to a certain degree. The question I remember is when Clive asked them, you know, what did you get out of the survey? And it was, they had like, you know, 1,100 responses, whatever. But the noises were pretty clear cut for that, in that it wasn't hard, particularly being supporters, so they weren't external to the, you know, to the football club when they came in, but it wasn't hard to know what they had to do. So the charm offensive through the summer had to happen in terms of just the way the communication worked. But the most telling thing I remember from a lot of what's been said over the summer is when Watton said on his first press conference, he said, whatever, think whatever you want, do whatever, you know, say whatever you want about some of the players, but I guarantee you that there will never be a team who will work harder than us, and there will never be a player wearing your shirt that will leave anything out there and will have not tried anything to get us a result. And I think from a supporter perspective, that's the thing that stuck with me, because actually, when you pay your money, all you want is your players to give everything. Some days it'll go your way, some days it won't go your way. But actually, what you want is for them to give everything. And I think that's resonated as a supporter with me, to say, actually, if our players are going to be doing that and giving that every week, you can't ask any more than that.
I think the club have done a fantastic job over the summer with the
brilliant
pub shop being redone. I'm looking forward to going in and seeing how that's all changed. It seems a lot utilised much better the space now that was there before. The fantastic.
Tommy, can I just say, I went in for the Plymouth game and they had security on the door. They were letting people in and out in certain numbers, and I went and got a couple of bits. My kids have been in today, the sponsors day, and they bought shirts. The money that just in the time I was in there, which is probably 10 minutes, astronomical, really is.
It's crazy. I've got a home shirt and an away shirt, which were delivered both within 48 hours. It was like, I've never known such efficiency from Torquay United. Absolutely brilliant communication. The amount of revenue we must have been, we were all saying last year, didn't we, how was this football club losing £1 million a year? It was just being, and this is what has made all this, you know, all the calling out of the previous administration, all the failing from us, especially worth it. Because look at what we've got, lads. We've got our football club in a much better position now. We've got people who care about the club running it. And you can just see like the fantastic volunteers who have painted, you know, Play More and spruced it up. I mean, how on earth it was allowed to be neglected for so long? I mean, that should be something that's done every season. Any decently run football club would have arranged something. And also we've got the fans forum later on tonight, which, you know, I'm sure a lot of us will be watching on later on. Fantastic. Something that the old consortium could never do. And I don't want to harbour back to those people, but it's just a completely different football club, and you just go in with such ambition. I've spent so much money. There's so much good stuff. I mean, the bucket hats is a step too far for me, but towels and everything else, we've got those. It's fantastic. It just makes you feel proud to be a fan again, and it does. You know, that it's just what we needed over the summer, as you know, as a club that was almost on the brink. And to get new owners, and just such a feel-good factor around the place. And I really do hope there'll be 4,000 minimum there, and I think there will be on Saturday. I've got 3 generations of my family are coming to watch on Saturday, and that's what Torquay United's all about. It's bringing generations of families and friends, you know, all together for the common good. And I can't speak enough, and especially on the travel club as well. I'm so glad that the club are finally working with them. I've known Mark and Harry for a long time. I've been on their travel club a few times. They do a fantastic job and have been put through the ringer throughout the previous years. So it's fantastic that the football club are now going to support them. And I really hope we have a successful season for them and for us, because the fan base has been absolutely superb throughout all the shambles and to now. So I'm really glad for them. But what a transformation, eh? It's fantastic.
The only constructive comment I would make on anything that I don't agree with really is that bloody wall's still there, isn't it? But they've painted that bloody wall. Not only is it still there, it's now looking even nicer. So I look forward to queuing for goodness knows how long for a wee at the weekend.
It's just ridiculous, really, isn't it? It's just like how much work they've done so quickly before the season even started. It's just crazy. And all the things you've just said. Going back to the playing side, though, which now, thankfully, in a way, actually, as much as we'll never ever forget and not stop appreciating all the work goes off the pitch, it's also nice that we're actually going to be hopefully doing a Goals I View season this year and just talk about football again. Just talk about football and the stuff on the pitch. And I'm really excited. I'm really excited for the league as well. Like, I know we call it like this new season syndrome. I don't know if it's just me, but I'm like, right, I'm going to watch that championship game. I'm going to make sure I follow all the stuff, and I'm going to watch all the EFL.
You can watch all of them this year.
Yeah, watch all the EFL highlights to really get into it. Watch every match of the day, and then 2 or 3 weekends in, Torquay win or to lose. Obviously, I've also got my allegiances towards Leicester. We definitely won't talk about that this year because that's only going one way. But yeah, it's just you have that, and it's just that excitement, as you said earlier, Chris. It's that not just looking forward to football. It's just like just everything about it. I can't wait. I can't wait for us just to. I feel like just be competitive in the National League South as well. It should be a lot of fun, and with the Dorking stuff we went through last week. I mean, we can say it now. I mean, thanks so much, Mark White, for coming on as well. I mean, that just shows what it was incredible the way he dealt with us the whole time, and he was so down to earth and all that. But I mean, that team looks good. So does Bournemouth. Both of their teams, which we go into more detail this week on the All Gone South pod. We're going to be doing a full National League South preview. We've got a few great people coming in for that. So yeah, look forward to that more. I'll talk a bit more then. But they've got an experienced squad, but we had a lot of experience last season. It didn't particularly work. So in certain places. So yeah, it's interesting, really, isn't it? It's really interesting where we're going to go. I mean, I think we've signed well, though. We'll get the squad up. So as we go through, obviously, the goalkeepers, I think that's a really good goalkeeper pairing, don't you? Don't you too?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of a keeper that knows the level. The only thing I would say about Heyman, from what I say, I've only seen him play at Heyman Hammond, one of them. That I saw against Plymouth. Someone needs to tell us what it is. James, if you're watching, tell us. Thanks. The only thing I would say is he came off his line quite a lot, but he came off his line in quite a decisive way. Now, there were a couple of cases where I thought it was I'm coming regardless of where this ball's going, which can be a bit of a dangerous approach. But he looks good with his feet. He looked saying, and we talked about Reece Lovett a lot, didn't we? In terms of indecision and coming off his line. So I think, as I said, Wanacott played at Tiverton at the weekend, and he didn't have much to do. But he looks a good size, and I think in terms of a number 2, he looks like a good option.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to seeing. Keeper is always a position I look for the most, and I think he's I want my keeper to be bold and positive. A lot of keeping his chance prevention. Halstead had his moments, good shot stopper, but I wanted him to be more brave and relieve that defensive pressure, coming out for crosses and all that. Keepers are going to make mistakes in the season, I'm afraid, but I prefer my keeper to be positive. And Wanacott, I think I've only seen very limited minutes of him, but from a shot stopper's perspective, made a decent save against Plymouth when I saw him. He looks, you can tell when a keeper looks like well coached and well drilled and all that. So yeah, keeper position's good. Obviously, defenders, everyone knows how many defenders we've got, but oh my god, I mean, Falston looks class, Dyer and Dre looks great as well. And those are the pick of them, and the rest are really solid. We know everything, like Dino. Ed Palmer looked really solid, I thought, against in the tackle and that. It's hard to sort of put it when you're playing against Exeter and Plymouth because it's a few divisions above and it's pre-season and nothing matters.
I think the formation was shown very at its best with the second goal at Tiverton on Saturday. The highlights haven't come out yet as we're doing this, but very much where that the best of 3 centre backs, where you got possession of the ball. Finn Tonks came to the right, to the very touchline. Palmer fed him the ball. Tonks kind of spread his body out. Palmer made the run kind of beyond the midfield into the channel. Tonks curled it around the back of him into the space that Palmer had picked up. He took a nice touch, but a good cross in, and Crosby nodded it in at the back post. In terms of that kind of attacking option, that third centre-back gives you drive. Tonks widened the pitch. Palmer ran into the space, put a good delivery in, and you score a goal from across. So I think that formation, and Palmer looks solid on the ball. I don't know he'll be an automatic pick. I wouldn't select him myself in the first game, but he'll have a part to play for sure.
And I think he would have learned a lot from the Exeter game as well, especially the way our first half performance was, especially defensively. Looking back at the highlights, we made some rather silly errors. I mean, leaving a man unmarked, for the second goal, that's criminal. But it looks like the changes that Watton made for the second half reflected more the sort of the starting lineup we're probably going to expect at the back for Saturday. And I think he learned an awful lot more, Paul Watton, from that Exeter friendly than he probably would have thought originally. Because, at the end of the day, I mean, it's only pre-season results. As we've proven, we can have a really good pre-season result-wise. It means naffle once you get to the start of the season.
Yeah.
So, no, I thought that Exeter game was probably, if we're looking at key moments of pre-season, I think that will probably be the one where he got a really good idea of how his back line is going to look, especially, and even his upfront options as well. For me, I think it's just a very good group of lads who are all going to push each other to do better. That's what we were really good at, back in 08-09, was we had quality options pretty much all over the pitch. So if someone wasn't performing, your position's at risk because you've got another person there who's going to push you. And I think that's what it's going to be like this season for us. And the thing we've been lacking for long parts of last season and the season going, before that, having quality options to come on and influence the game and change the game. You need that. And I think Brad Ash especially will benefit most from that, because he missed some absolute sitters, didn't he, last year? But already in pre-season, he scored some really good goals. And he's also, he's done typical Brad Ash, off the ball, especially running off the ball and movement. It's great. So I think he'll thrive this season up front. Personally, that's my opinion anyway.
Yeah.
I think
the interesting one. Sorry,
Chris.
just to finish on what you said there about the defence. I think positionally, the interesting one for me is Jay Falston, because I think when we signed him from everything you read and see, he's a left back, but he's been playing in that wide left centre back position. I would probably anticipate him starting there because Moxie's not had a great amount of minutes. So, in my head, Moxie was in the team for the first game of the season, but I don't know that's the case now. And what Falston's done well in a couple of games I've seen is that, as I just said about Palmer, when you've got the ball and Carson's gone wide, he has tucked in and driven forward. We've seen he's got a good delivery from some crosses and set pieces. So, and as Tommy's just said, you've got options. If you have an issue, if something happens to Carson, Paulson can go to the wing and you've got options to come in. So, and as well, if players aren't performing, there's options to to move it around. There's two players for every position, which is key. But I wasn't sure. I wouldn't have seen Fulton as a wide centre back before, and I guess the only worry with that is he's not the biggest, so physically will he be able to cope with it? When you've got some size, you play with split wingers, and some of them are quite physical players, aren't they, in this division? So will he be able to cope with that? In the air at times, but it looks like he can cope from what I've seen.
I don't think we're going to see a lot of Moxie on the pitch this season. I know he's also signed, hasn't he, a new extension, but more so as well on the coaching side and off the field as well. So personally, I don't think we're going to see a lot of Moxie starting, and I think he'll be a lot more protected this season. Plastic pitches and all that. He probably won't too many times.
But he won't have to play every minute, will he? No. Last year, he was the only choice a lot of the time, wasn't he? And ended up but he left back in a 4 at times, didn't he? Which is crazy when you consider it. But yeah, absolutely. You think you've got Tomlinson, you've got him, and you've got Palmer, who are probably the 3 non-starters initially. So I think, that would absolutely. I think you don't need to play him all the time and use him at certain times.
And you guys have seen, obviously, more games than I have so far, but how are you thinking of the 3-5-2? I know we had an in-depth discussion with Mark White, didn't we, Swanee, about 3-5-2, and you've learned an awful lot more, but how do you feel? Personally, last season, I was ready to think I'd never wanted to see a 3-5-2 ever again at Torquay United.
I mean, we actually named a video Goodbye 3-5-2 or something like that. I mean, that was a 3-5-2, which is horrendously coached and structured.
We also named a video Rock Bottom.
Yes, that was a couple of years ago when we were bottom of the National League. Anyway.
I think a lot of it's so much of how any formation, not just 3-5-2, but any formation is about A, how the players are drilled, B, how the players understand what it is they've got to do and the structure of what's in it. I think the problem at times last year, and it happened, I remember at the start of last year, we were debating a lot amongst Torquay Talk and on here that gap in behind your fullbacks, that space between your centre backs and your fullbacks is key, because if your centre backs are too narrow, there's too much space in behind. But the massive issue, and to answer your question, Tommy, I think the massive difference this time is last year we were playing 3-5-2 and we didn't have any wing backs. At no point did we have players in there where you thought, yeah, they're wing backs. The odd occasion Dan Martin was fit, but if you look at the players that played at wing back, Collins, Stobbs, De Silva, they're not full backs. I've already seen from what having seen
ruin their
Fintox
seasons.
twice. Yeah,
they ruin their
Fintox, you
seasons.
need a fullback. Matty Carson, they're fullbacks. So positionally, they'll understand things a lot better. They'll pull wide where they need to. They'll drop and support the wide centre backs when they need to. So, I mean, I think, whatever the formation is what it is. I think, but it's about how the players are drilled and how they understand it, as much as the players in it. But if they're in the right positions, it's a good start.
I mean, Paul Wootton, I really like every post-off conference he does, everything post-match, and he said for Exeter, at least those 2 goals were coachable. I mean, objectively, those 2 goals are abysmal, but it's pre-season. Learn and be rubbish then. Honestly, I don't care.
Yeah, it's interesting. He's used that phrase a lot, hasn't he? He used that phrase to describe Crosby at the weekend, didn't he?
Yeah,
I like him. He's a good lad, good attitude. He's very coachable, which is an interesting phrase, isn't it? Because I think actually what that means. But to hear a manager say that, he's excited saying it, isn't he? Because he's saying there's something in him we can coach and we can make him better. Which is a coach, it must be what you want to do, no?
No, I totally agree. And I think with the 3-5-2, we said it. I think I want to go back actually. We were talking about 07, 08 and 08, 09. Remember the difference between those 2 seasons? 07, 08, free flow in. Yeah, great. But we also conceded quite a lot. 08, 09, yeah. I didn't enjoy it as much as 07, 08, but the team was more kind of, I know we finished lower. We had less points, I think, but it got the job done. And it was a pain from set pieces as well. We were in both seasons and we looked brilliant from set pieces. And that's the point. I'm not fully expecting Torquay to go and be that team that blitzes team. Like we blitzed Stevenage 4-2 in that season. And obviously we're in the last one in the South. And I think the South's got a lot stronger since, we're winning games 7-3 and all that. Not running out, just getting the job done and being coached well. And I think that is the big kind of thing with Paul Wootton. I really like what I'm seeing with it. I just think we've got to be realistic. Football is changing now. It's not. I don't like the way it's gone in the sense that I loved it when football was just get forward and the other team's like, no, I'm going to go forward and no, I'm going to go forward. And of course, it is still objectively that. But football's changed now. It's a lot more strategic, especially when you watch it at a higher level and you're actually in the stadium. One thing's watching on TV, when you watch it in the stadium, it feels like totally different standards. But the football these days is a lot more kind of, right, we're going to keep the ball and then we're going to attack the other team when they're not there, if that makes sense, when the other team's switched off. And maybe in the second half, we're going to attack more and we're going to see for a 1-0, 2-0 win. Now, people can tell me that's how football's always been, but I just feel even more now that's the way it's gone forward. So if we don't go out all guns blazing and it's 0-0 after half an hour, I'm not going to panic against Anfield. I think that's what we maybe got to manage expectations. I think it's just about, I feel like we are going to. I do feel like we are. And they have lost their star striker. I don't know what they've done since. We'll find out on the pod. They lost it to Gillingham, I think, from last season.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I think as well, Swanee.
Yeah.
As well, just on that as well. I think what I like is I think certainly you look at the midfield area is that I think there's players there that can do every job. I think the first choice 3, in my opinion, would be Oscar Threlkeld, Dan Hayfield, and Omar Musa will be the 3. I don't see Hassani and Musa playing in the same team that much necessarily because I think they're not luxury players, but I don't think they're players who are necessarily gonna
need a balance.
Going to give you everything you need. I think Threlkeld, Hayfield, and Musa will cover your 3 bases. They'll cover your kind of access at the back. One what was noticeable against Plymouth is if one pushed, if Threlkeld went, Hayfield sat in, and then vice versa. So I think they understand what they're doing. But then you've also got players like Roddy Collins. I like the look of him. Very kind of structured footballer. He strikes me as a sort of player. I could be speaking ill of him, and I hope I'm not. But he strikes me as a sort of player that you bring on with 20 minutes to go when you want them up away from home. Who'll know how to control the game, know how to slow the game down, know how to stick his foot in and buy a couple of cheap free kicks here and there, and maybe Collins for Musa might be the change when you need to just take a little bit of the luxury out of the game and just put a bit of, where you've got to stick a bit of boot in. I think the midfield area has all of those options. I mean, I like the look of Hassani from what I've seen. He looks like a really talented footballer who travels well with the ball. I think the challenge for him and Musa, I know it was a friendly on Saturday, but Musa tried a few tricks and didn't play people in when he could have a couple of times. So I think for him, he could be a bit of a frustrating player at times, but he looks to have unbelievable ability. He had one free kick from about 30 yards on Saturday that he hit it in that Ronaldo way, that straight run up and that kind of side foot, and it flicked the top of the bar. And he has real ability. And but sounds like there were clubs in for him, a couple of National League teams who, we've got him with us. I mean, he looks like look at him. The guys mentioned about a marquee signing, but he looks a really talented footballer. If you can feed the attacking players,
I love like Musa. The way I've seen what I've seen, I love he just gives something different. I love football. I really buy into football culture. If you want to go into it, I really like those players who will offer something different in terms of how they maybe see the game. Obviously, we know on paper he's obviously it comes to different places, and this is what we've got to be. I was in this conversation earlier, and obviously we're in the Premier League when you see players playing in foreign sort of countries and all that. It's a lot more, but especially down in a non-league, it's a different kind of culture. Football. It's like Kalala was a big example. I felt at times when we were Torquay fans, we were like, "Oh, come on, he's people coming into him and he's not reacting well." Just how he reacts to certain things might be different, and that's what I love about having that balance in there. I think Kalala was one of the most wonderfully talented players I've ever seen in a Torquay shirt, and then I think at times maybe get into grips with English football was maybe seen as bad attitude or whatever. I don't think it was at all. And I think with Musa, it's very much a case of, well, I love this body language before in the Exeter game when he came on and Torquay fans told him to shoot and he was just like, no. And he put the best ball in you've ever seen at the back post. And I think those sort of players, and he wanted to take every set piece and Carson's like, no. And Carson, what a set piece delivery he's got. That's really exciting as well.
And Musa, he seems like a great guy as well, Swanee. My kids went to the sponsors thing today and they met him and they were, they were full of, he was so friendly and talked to us. And, for little kids as well, to have that view of the players that you see on the pitch, he was so good with them. He seems like a really good guy as well, which is important.
Yeah, no, and you need those players. You need players that offer something different. When some players, and there's nothing wrong with being, seeing that kind of ball and that movement. He's saying, no, I'm getting this and I'm putting it top corner. Just someone who just offers a different view in the game. And the same with Hassani as well. I love a midfield that has a creative player where everyone runs for him, and then it will have more of a box-to-box or a ball-winning midfielder, and you have them working in a two. You look at all the partnerships we had talking with Mansell, him, Rowe, and all that sort of people over the years. Yeah. You need that balance. You can't have two midfielders who want to do the same role. And that's why I think on paper, Paul Wootton looks really smart. When he hasn't just gone, right, I need 4 or 5 defenders, centre backs. I need 4 or 5 midfielders. He's gone, right, I need a couple of creatives. They've all been
signed for positional reason. Yeah.
Yeah, within the position. Yeah. Not just, I need a midfielder. And then we'll put the team together and see how it there. It's no, here's what I want to play. And we're going to get the best players I can find for that. So excited about him. And so what a player, so if he's not starting to bring off the bench, but he should be starting to.
What excites me about the season as well is you've got a bunch of players there who are good set piece takers. And you can argue last season, one of our weaknesses especially was our set pieces.
Yep, definitely.
But there's a plethora of players there who can take a good set piece. So I'd like to think this season we're not going to be as wasteful with the set pieces. But no, I was just
thinking then, Tommy, just before we said that, I was just thinking then, I'd like to hear some of those conversations because you think you've got Falston, who scored free kicks before, Carson, that we've mentioned, who's got a great delivery. You've got Musa and that free kick that Hayfield scored at the weekend. Wow. I mean, and I'm told by I've got a mate who's a Bath fan, he said it's not the first time he's done that. So, yeah, I totally agree with you. And there should be some real quality. Look at the size of Dyer and Dre. You want to get in the way of them in the box, would you? So,
no, I love
absolutely.
That.
Totally agree.
I hate set pieces. I mean, it's really seen highly in, especially at Stock now, teams getting set piece coaches. But I think set pieces are so important because, if you're tight 0-0 and you can't pass through a team and get a free kick, cool, get it in the box and magic can happen from there. And then that gets you 1 or 2-0 up and then you can control the game and put your game plan there. And if you're just wasting, oh my God, the last few years, balls over, I wonder it's not beat the first man. That should be a crime in football.
We're gonna have games this season where a winning result could lie in a set piece.
Yeah.
Very tight game again. A division this year, probably the strongest National League South it's been in years. So it's going to be very competitive, and you've got to make every chance count. That's the aim of the game. If you want to be successful in this sport, you've got to take your chances. So just bring it on, lads. Bring it on. I'm just looking forward to this season. There's just so much promise. It's hard not to get ahead of yourself, is it? You just got to try and stay on the level a little bit. But you really do feel with what we've been able to recruit in such a short period, and with the club, how it's been over the summer, I think it's fantastic. And it's just going to be great on Saturday to be there and cheer the lads on. And I'm sure we'll get rewarded than we have done in the past as fans. It's going to be a great occasion.
I think what's interesting for me as well, the only, not doubt, but what's going to be, I view it as it's going to be interesting to see, because I think we're going to have a workman-like team. We're going to have a solid team. We're going to have a team who know what they're doing kind of positionally. I think we've got a team that can mix it. We were so one-dimensional the vast majority of last season that as soon as you went 1-0 down, that was pretty much it in a lot of games. But I think we've got a lot of variety to how we can play. What I think will be interesting will be how much flair they can bring to it, because I think that there's no doubt that Watton's kind of modus operandi, if you like, is to be solid, to work hard, to give everything, to be firm in the tackle, to never take a backward step, which I like. But do these players have the ability for actually, when you got a bit of space, to play some good football? Can Hayfield get in the pockets? Can we get Hisani and Musa into positions where they can hurt teams? Can we get forwards down the sides of centre backs to then put balls into the box for midfielders who run beyond to head it in? And can they mix it up? Because I think being solid and workmanlike is a given.
Totally
what I've seen from what I've read, but can they bring the flair? Can they bring? I mean, I'm excited to see Jaden Crosby, not just because I've done one of the shirt sponsors for him this year, but just because I think he looks really exciting. I echo what Watton said. He looks like, I don't know he'll be an instant starter. I can see Ashton Seymour ahead of him with Cody Cook, but he looks like a player. He'll score some important goals. There'll be moments where he'll come on with 10 minutes to go in a game and he'll get you a goal. Because then it doesn't matter what level you're at. If you can score 37 goals in a season, you know how to put the ball in the net.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you, Chris. I think at times it will frustrate me if when we get into like the opposition's final third, this quick passing, and that's when you're like, no, we're going to be a bit more flair in that final third. That's one thing I might have said. Get a bit more confident with, take players on, and just the strikers getting in and making the most of those two striker formations. I mean, Brad Ash is going to be crucial this season with the runs. When he come off, I know it's a game that's pre-season and coming off the bench, but the run he made and the ball he put in, which I think Musa was going to get on the end of if the extra defender didn't anyway. And maybe Brad Ash, I felt he was a snatcher of chances last season, and that's where a lot of his misses we mentioned earlier. Maybe he's just struggling to prove himself a little bit, always frustrated. Now, he's been here for a year. Fans can see what he can do. I hope, he's one other finisher. He gets in the right positions. I love his technique actually of being quick in the box and snatching quote at chances. Snatching only seems to be used as a negative term in football, but being quick to react in the box maybe is a better way of putting it. He just had a couple of away games where some things blazed over, but it's a bit of that composure into that kind of shooting technique, and he's going to get 15 to 20 this season.
I think Cody Cook's going to be an important part of it as well, because I mean, he knows the level. B, he's got a good goal scoring record, but I think as well we're going to need him to stay fit, because I've seen, again, it's very small pockets, very small examples, but when you see Ash and Seymour together, Crosby looks a bit more physical, but when you see Ash and Seymour together, they look the same for a start. So knowing which is hard work, but actually that physicality and that strength that Cook brings. I mean,
certain games that won't work. That partnership.
No, that's right.
Possibly,
but bouncing centre backs off him against Plymouth. So in National League South, his physicality to hold the ball up, bring players in, get a ball, get his head on things in the box. So I think he's an important part of how we're going to be able to play. But as you say, they're going to be games where actually you need to get Seymour on and play much slower. And I think Crosby can play that target man role, although he's not as big. But as we've said, can score goals, which is we've got you look at 4 strikers and you think, "Cool, crikey, there's goals in them," which is exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't wait. Any last things, you two, before we end this episode? Nice to be back, Monaway. Nice to be back doing it.
Are we going to divulge into predictions for the season, lads, or are we going to save that for another time?
Maybe go on, Tom. You say, let's just go free for Tom. You say a few.
So my first prediction: Brad Ash will score 20 league goals this season. I really think he's going to find the net a lot this season. League goals, mind you, not cup. I'm keeping this strictly to the league this season. Second prediction, I think we're going to qualify for the first round of the FA Cup this year as well. And thirdly, I think we'll finish in the playoffs.
I am actually with you on all of them. I also, to add to that, I think Sandro will really shine him at the back this season. And I like to think, from the club's point of view, that I predict there'll be transfer interest in him this time next year if it all goes well. Obviously, you want to keep your players, but also if you're getting the Football League money thrown at it, and that shows players to come here to Torquay. It's a developing club. That'd be my. We're putting a lot of pressure on this lad now, but I know he's going to be able to do it. But yeah, that's my thing. I think Jaden Crosby will come in and he will be the striker that we think he's going to be. He won't start, definitely not, I don't think, but he will develop into a very good striker.
And I'll be the first person to remind you who sponsored his third kit when that happens.
Well done, Chris. And I think, I just think the feel good factor will be there, and I predict we will finish fourth. I'm going to go fourth. Go on, Chris.
Well, the predictions article that Tommy mentioned is actually on the website now, so you'll be able to see some of this. I predicted that Inat will finish second, just because I don't want us predictors to win it, because that will probably knacker it if I do. I agree with what you said about Ash. I liked Ash last year. I've got a mate who doesn't have a bar of Ash, but I think at times he was playing up front on his own, and that's not his game, is it? So I think with the
not
better
in the right
players,
system at all.
Exactly, in the right system with the right players, I think he'll be good. I think a player who's not been mentioned a lot, but I think from what I've seen of him, from what I know of him, and what I've heard of him, I think Dan Hayfield will be a big player. Physically, he's strong, a 6 foot plus. He looks like he's got a good touch, and he can put his foot in. So I think he'll be important. And I think I just struck from having seen. I've only seen Omar Musa for about 30 minutes and 45 minutes, but just the ability that he has to have a player of that ability going into the season is really positive. And I agree with Tommy. So like, you just can't wait to get going now, can you? And all of the hype. Everyone's winning the league this week, aren't they? Because no one's lost a game yet. So, let's get into. And I hope that we can have a good start. If we could get 10 points from the first 4 games, keep that feel-good factor going.
I mean, that would be incredible, because we have a tough start on paper. If we get 10 points, I will suddenly go from we're getting playoffs to we're winning the league, possibly.
Yeah, and if we can get into some teams and say, no, actually, we're here. This is our league early on. Go and win it somewhere like Bath, go and win it somewhere like Farnborough, sort Dorking out at home, to really kind of say, we've got a new squad, but we've got a squad of players who can do this. I think that's important. But I think the fans are going to give, look at the fans that turned up at times last year, but the players will have latitude from the fans. I think they'll have a lot, they'll have our support, they'll have our belief, and I know the fans will stay with them, whatever. But hopefully, as I say, that feel-good factor at the club can, we need to keep it for as long as we can.
And I think that's the most important thing for this weekend is if you're in 2 minds about going to play more, just do your best to get there, because it's going to be some occasion. It's going to be a great crowd, probably the largest crowd this season in the division. Drink a lot of water.
Drink a lot of water, please, everyone.
Just embrace this new era of Torquay United Football Club, everyone. It's going to be a heck of a ride. We know things will go wrong at some point. Mistakes will happen. Hey, it happens. We're all human. But just stick with it, guys and girls, and let's just enjoy having our football club and having a club that everyone can get behind and back now. So just do it.
And another one as well, from what you just said there, Tommy. Sorry, Sam. Another good point you said there, Tommy. If you weren't going to go, then at 2:00 you think, should I go and watch Torquay? Yeah, on the first day of the season. Just rock up with your £20 note and walk in.
And there's no surcharge. There's no surcharge. I think it is cash only, maybe, or card only. Sorry, on that turnstile, but still, you can do it on the gate at that thing. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I just saw the sign. Turn up. There's no surcharge. And finally, I will say, there was a comment left on a video that we recorded the evening of the day this club went into administration, and it said, "Wow, look back at this." And I did, and I watched like the first 5-10 minutes. I watched ours, and that sounds really egotistical, but I watched ours, and I was just like, and just all the things we're saying that day, and all the comments, and I remember how I felt on that day. To go back now, where we're at this weekend, we are kicking off in the south. We're lucky to have a football club at all. Let me be back in the south. With ambition, we've got owners who care. We've got a good young squad and a good squad that's ready. We've got a good, promising manager. We've got an amazing fan base ready. We've got an amazing home and away shirt. Everything is going in the right direction. It's going to take time, but Torquay United Football Club is well and truly back. Get up there on Saturday, even if you're not a Torquay fan, you just want to follow something, that's fine. Get up there, support your local community, because they're going to be supporting other local communities, and let's just enjoy a really fun and rewarding time to support Torquay United Football Club again. We are back, and I can't wait to be back on, all that niceness, and we'll be moaning at any refereeing decision or misplaced pass, whatever. But it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we have our football club, and it's alive and it's reborn. And 5 years from now, I would love to come back to this video and see where it is. Hopefully, anyway.
And after all that positivity, join us next week to discuss our opening defeat to Enfield and play more on Saturday.
But yeah, no, that is also the worry. But yeah, it is interesting, isn't it? But
sure disregard the last 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Make sure you're following Torquay Talk, Goals Eye View, all the content.
We're going to South on Spotify as well if you want. Yeah, and thank you so much to all the people that helped us get in these positions. Helped me personally. I've been on an absolute roller coaster, ridiculous things on like BBC and all that, and all the comments we have is amazing. And Tom, all of us have had, and it's just amazing that we're in this opportunity, and we only really started doing it because we needed to and we wanted to, and we can actually get back to football now. Hopefully we get views still, but now that things are actually good again. But no, still, it's all going to be an open arms community, and everyone's welcome and to say their bit. So there we are. So thank you so much for watching, listening this week. Even if you're not going to listen to us on Spotify or whatever, if you could give us a nice little follow and do whatever and like the episode, I guess that helps. And I always forget to say, but if you're watching this, please like it as well. It does just boost us into algorithms. As much as we do this for fun, we also trying to grow Talky Talk now, especially with the new pod, and get towards 1,000 subscribers would be nice. So yeah, thank you for everyone, and let's enjoy Torquay United again.
Here's Hargreaves, chance for Torquay. He stays onside. Carlisle checks instead. He's looking for Benyon. Sells!